All right, so good morning, everyone, and welcome to the second session of our Zoom discussion or Zoom seminar on the China threat. Our topic is China as a threat in the Pacific, and is it really a threat to PNG, or is it all made up by traditional powers in the region and outside of the region? So, with us today, we have around 5 different presenters representing 5 different groups. So, we will start off with Group 5, and Patrick will be representing Group 5. Patrick, please go ahead. Okay, Sylvia and Patrick, we'll give you time to sort out your technical issue while we move on to Tanya. Yes, do troubleshooting. Check your microphone. Do troubleshoot on your microphone, and it should be okay. ask the system to check the microphone and it will fix it for you. So we'll move on to Tanya. Tanya, please go ahead while Sylvia and Patrick, they sort out the technical issue.
Hello, can you guys hear me? Okay.
Yes, we can.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Yagura, and good morning, everyone. For this week, the question posed to us, Group 7, is according to ODAD, why do some recipient countries criticize Chinese financing for its failure to comply with international standards and practices? Now, before I get to answering the question, I'd like to make reference to the International Standard for Organization, ISO, briefly explaining standards and practice to help better our understanding. ISO describes international standards and practice as agreed principles or guidelines that help ensure the quality, safety, responsibility, and sustainability of products, services, and processes. Now let us note that PNG is one of these recipient countries that criticizes Chinese financing. PNG's decision to sign the Belt and Road Initiative (BRI) has reignited the already existing criticisms about Chinese financing and its overall involvement in the Pacific. Now, widely cited research papers highlighted in the reading argues that unverifiable loans associated with Chinese-funded infrastructure projects make certain Pacific Island countries vulnerable to Beijing's influence, and that's according to Kehoe 2018. Now to our response from our reading and understanding of her chapter, we've identified two factors that have triggered criticisms for Chinese financing failure to comply with international standards and practice, and they are transparency and accountability. Firstly, the Chinese offer less guaranteed funded projects of doubtful or uncertain development value, which in return makes worse PNG's challenge with corruption, public sector mismanagement, and poor governance. For example, in 2012, PNG awarded China Harbour Engineering Company a $290 million US contract to develop PNG's Lei Port. The development was faulty. The government refrained from publicly disclosing the results of the government inquiries into Lei Port mismanagement, as the Chinese company was blacklisted by Asia Development Bank for fraud prior to the PNG awarding the company this contract. Now, in addition, though a relevant PNG authority stated that the Harbour Engineering Company would fund the repairs of the faulty development, the then opposition leader, Don Polio, alleged that the Chinese company refused to cooperate with the PNG government. So furthermore, there is a notable absence of comprehensive official data and financial government sources which may assist in the track keeping of Chinese investment. As it is, figures are unlikely to be precise, which fuels this criticism that Chinese financing may intensify under BRI. So recent research suggests that as much as half of Chinese overseas loans to developing nations may be hidden and not captured in official reporting, and that is according to Horn and others, 2019. The varying transparency of both PNG and Chinese government data means that PNG's debt situation may become more ambiguous and potentially more risky and unjustifiable over time. And this is also the case across the Pacific region to other Pacific Island countries where there is a lack of clarity regarding the proportion of grants to loans offered by China and the allocation of financing across the Pacific. So in conclusion, we've seen that with greater transparency and stronger anti-corruption measures, both challenging endeavors in their own right, Pacific Island countries may find it difficult to guarantee or confirm that the BRI projects are sustainable, not fraudulent or not deceitful, and that these BRI projects actually benefit the local and national economies as it is part of the international standard and practices. Thank you, and that's all for our group's presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Tanya. If you have any questions or comments for Tanya, please you can share in our discussion forum for this week. Patrick, are you people able to present? Did you sort out your microphone issue? You're still working on it, then we can move on to the next presenter and come back. All right, okay, thank you, Sylvia. So we will now move on to our next presenter, Ms. Wilma Timo, representing Group 6. Wilma, please go ahead.
Can you all hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Wilma.
All right. Good morning, Mr. Yegura and everyone. I will be representing Group 6 and will be giving our response to the given question. So the question reads, according to ODOT, why do certain Chinese companies and PNG officials exploit PNG's comparatively weak regulatory environment for personal and commercial benefit? So some Chinese companies and PNG officials exploit PNG's comparatively weak regulatory environment for personal and commercial benefits simply because PNG has a weak regulatory environmental system in place. According to ODOT 2021, lack of good governance is a big factor in not just Chinese companies, but other foreign companies exploiting PNG's resources. Now, Papua New Guinea Mine Watch 2014, as cited in ODOT 2021, page 411, supported that, and I quote, resource governance in PNG is poor due to weak government oversight, corruption, and opaque data, end of quote. An example of such would be the lending of Special Agriculture and Business Lease or SABL licenses to Chinese companies. SABL is a temporary acquisition of customary land for some time for establishing plantations, etc. As such, many landowners in PNG have been complaining that Chinese companies are illegally securing large pieces of land and exhausting the country's natural resources, thus causing major environmental pollution. Furthermore, even though China's Belt and Road Initiative program includes environmentally friendly policies of initiatives such as the green infrastructure, ODOT argues that the enforcement mechanisms are weak and are unevenly implemented and require the whole state to spearhead discussions. For instance, according to the National, dated 6 November 2019, the developer of Ramu Nickel Mine states that the company would only participate in the research of the mine's pollution when all government departments are involved. This implies that many public servants or politicians remain unaccountable for their decisions or actions. So coming back to the question, the reasons as to why some Chinese companies and PNG officials exploit PNG's weak regulatory environmental system are, firstly, the lack of good governance. Secondly, transparency and accountability is compromised by some Chinese companies and PNG officials, resulting in corruption. And last but not the least, PNG has a weak regulatory system, therefore resulting in poor enforcement of environmental regulatory rules and laws. So in conclusion, addressing the problem of foreign companies and PNG officials exploiting the weak regulatory environmental system can be achieved by dedicating sufficient attention to promoting good governance. Additionally, reinforcing effective measures to combat the exploitation of PNG's resources is essential for the country's improvement in terms of the management of PNG's natural resources. Thank you all for your attention, and we hope you learned something from our presentation.
All right, thank you, Wilma, and thank you, Tanya. Thank you both for sharing with us your answers to the assigned questions. And we will now move on to Goroti. Goroti, please, can you continue on with the presentation?
Can you all hear me? Okay. All right, good morning, everyone. The question that was given to us, Group 4, reads, ODOT discussed the debt trap diplomacy theory. Why is PNG still pursuing Chinese financing, and do you believe that Chinese investment poses a threat to PNG's sovereignty? So the key term identified in the question is the debt trap diplomacy. So debt trap diplomacy is a tool for policymakers when the lending country, in this case China, promotes infrastructure projects in strategically locating the borrower country, typically a developing country, frequently by giving the borrowing government excessive loans. And as a result, the borrower state becomes heavily dependent on the lending state economically, further cementing the developed state's power over the developing or underdeveloping states. Now, to answer the questions, what we did was to answer the first part of the question and then to answer the second part of the question. So the first part is, why is PNG still pursuing Chinese financing? To answer that, one of the underlying reasons as to why PNG is still relying on China's finance is the country's critical need for infrastructural development. The other reason is that when Chinese give the finance for support, it is always targeted for a particular reason. And most of the finance support are flexible and infrastructure targeted, which serves as the baseline for the government still relying on China. Unlike Australia, the finance support prioritizes governance initiatives. And Chinese funded projects are very evident in the country in terms of them constructing roads in urban and rural areas, also with other infrastructural buildings than the Australian initiatives. Why I say this is because in the rural areas, if you go and ask a local about a road project that's been made to the village or a new building that's been built, they will not say Australians or Americans built that road, but they would say like in Tokpesin, or Psycho make him road come no place, or Psycho make him like Nipa building him sana. Because that's not, because I never once like heard a local say that a white man can make him road. It's always or psycho can make him road no place. So therefore you can see how Chinese are influencing people at the local, provincial and national level of the country. And because of the vast infrastructural funded projects that Chinese has financed, that Chinese has financed, and we have seen the result, has resulted in PNG still pursuing Chinese finance. And to the second question, second part of the question, do you believe that Chinese investment poses a threat to PNG's sovereignty? To answer this question, we must first understand the meaning of sovereignty. The Oxford Learners Dictionary defines the term sovereignty as the authority of a state to govern itself or another state. With the meaning clarified, I will move on to answer the question. Our answer is no. If anything, foreign investments are good for any developing country. The notion that the Chinese are a threat because they set conditions for every investment, just like any other states does with investing, is a biased and misled idea. The more loans or resources PNG takes from China, the more terms and conditions of the agreement would be more favorable to China. And that is perfectly normal between two bilateral partners, especially if the relationship is transactional. It is a give and take relationship where one state has to compromise in order to get what it needs for survival. For example, PNG needs foreign investments to stabilize its economy. Because of this, PNG has to lose something in order to gain more. And lastly, sovereignty is a political concept, while Chinese investments are more concerned with the economic side of things. To pose a threat to PNG sovereignty would mean to undermine and overrule the leaders and government of PNG, which has never happened before. Chinese investors and leaders have never directly meddled in PNG's affair, nor have they ever had a say in the PNG government political decision making. Therefore, the Chinese investment does not pose a threat to PNG sovereignty. Thank you all, and that's all from Group 4.
Thank you, Goroti and Group 4. They believe that China is not a threat to PNG. So I hope along the way, as we continue to discuss, all of you will form your own opinion and your own perspective, and you yourself will decide whether PNG should feel threatened by China or we should work with China as a close friend and ally. So that's up to you people, you future leaders, to decide. Let's listen to Jomelin and then we will go to Patrick. Patrick will conclude. Miss Pari, please go ahead.
Sorry, can you hear me? Okay. So, good morning again, Mr. Yagera and everyone listening. I will be presenting on behalf of the Group 2s. So our question assigned to us for this week reads, what did O'Dowd, apologies if I mispronounce these authors' names. So the question reads, what did O'Dowd mention regarding the Ramon nickel mine concerning its aid and investment aspects? Before I move on to answer the question, I would like to provide the definition of investment and aid. So the Cambridge Dictionary defines investment as the act of putting money or effort into something to make a profit or achieve a result. And it defines, also the Cambridge Dictionary defined aid as the help given in the form of food, money, medical supplies, etc. to a country or of people that is in need. So moving on to the question. According to the article, O'Dowd mentioned that the level of debt and associated risk in Papua New Guinea are not transparent due to a lack of clarity around Chinese aid. According to War and Poor 2017, as cited by O'Dowd, Chinese aid, when provided as a loan, might contribute to the indebtedness of recipient nations. The example of the Ramon nickel mine, which is a large and significant Chinese investment project in PNG, is mentioned to illustrate challenges in distinguishing between aid and investment aspects. The exact proportions of aid and commercial funding for the Ramon nickel mine remain uncertain, and conflicting statements by the operating company, which are the Technological Corporation of China Limited, or NCC, further complicate the understanding of the project's financial structure. O'Dowd further suggested that such uncertainty in funding sources could be a characteristic of other Belt and Road Initiative projects where boundaries between commercial finance and development aid may be unclear. That's all, and thank you all for your attention.
All right, thank you very much, Ms. Pari, and all our presenters. We will now conclude with Patrick and his group. But before we do that, if I pronounce your names incorrectly, your surname or first name, please feel free to correct me. Okay, Patrick, please conclude our meeting.
Unmute. Hello. Sorry, Mr. Patrick's microphone is having some issues, so he'll be using my laptop to do our presentation.
Okay, that's fine. Go ahead.
Okay. The script is here. The script is here. Oh, you start phone. Huh? Okay, yeah.
It's okay now. So
Yeah. There, they can hear. Oh, sorry. Technologies. Yep. Okay. Okay. Say good morning. Okay.
morning, Mr. Egiora and class. I am here on behalf of Group 5 to present to you our response to the question, which is, do you share the view presented by O'Dowd that the Belt and Road Initiative is motivated in part by an effort to address China's surplus in steel and cement production? O'Dowd presented the argument made by some observers in an article, Bridging the Belt and Road Initiative in Papua New Guinea, found on pages 397 to 425, that BRI is partly driven by an attempt to alleviate China's oversupply of steel and cement production and will thus promote carbon and pollution-intensive development models in host countries. Firstly, the Belt and Road Initiative, also known as One Belt, One Road Initiative, is one of China's most ambitious foreign and economic policies that aim to strengthen Beijing's economic leadership through a vast program of infrastructure building throughout China's neighboring regions. However, according to Kashmiri 2023, Belt and Road Initiative is Belt and Road Initiative is a driven strategy used by the Chinese Communist Party with geopolitical aims, meaning that this strategy is used to exercise China's self-interest within political entities or groups In this case, it might be the situation for Papua New Guinea. It can be used for China's benefit, but it could also allow the creation of policies for mutual benefit. Now, while much of the current discourse surrounding the BRI tends to center around the debt trap diplomacy theory, the BRI is also motivated by China's pressing domestic economic challenges. According to an analysis done by Peter Kai, published by the Law Institute in 2017, the problem with the geopolitical interpretations of the BRI is not that they are wrong, but that they are incomplete. There is a tendency to overlook the economic agenda of the initiative. The BRI aims to create a regional production chain within which China would be a center of advanced manufacturing and innovation and a standard setter. But it is also true that the BRI will help China to meet some of its most pressing economic challenges, one of them being addressing the problem of excess capacity. Therefore, we share a view presented by O'Dowd that the Belt and Road Initiative is motivated in part by an effort to address China's surplus in steel and cement production. Thank you, and that's the end of our presentation.
All right, thank you, Patrick. Finally, you were able to present. You were able to tackle the technological challenge posed by your microphone, the microphone on Sylvia's phone. Okay, so that brings us to the end of our presentation for today, our presentations and our session for today. Thank you all for attending. If you have questions or comments, you know the procedure. You can visit our forum for this week. Are you people able to access Moodle? I'm having problems logging into Moodle. Oh, you have access to Moodle, huh? All of you. Oh, okay, it must be some technical issue from our end, so I'll try to sort it out. Because I was marking and now I can't go in again and mark, so there's a technical issue there. I'll check and yeah. So we finished our just a few talk servers. I will complete marking the first session on security as a concept. So you should have your marks out of 6 by end of this week. And you can have a look at, I'll share my tally as well, so you can cross-check and see whether or not I am accurate in counting your comments and your questions. So hopefully by end of this week, you should be able to see your tally and your mark out of 6 and make corrections if I make mistakes. And secondly, we have a guest lecture next Monday, 10:30 to 11:30. As per my email yesterday, I invited you people to the meeting. Mr. Richard McGregor from the Law Institute, a former journalist working for various mainstream media outlets in America and across Asia. He'll talk about China and the framing of China in the Pacific, how China is framed by different media outlets and the view from Australia and US and all that. So we'll get a perspective from a very senior experienced journalist. So you can Google him up and look at his profile and his research so far. He works for Lowy. So that's next Monday, and then we'll continue on with our presentations on Friday. So that's our program for next week. So Emta, sorry for taking your time and sorry for the late start. I was caught up in traffic and was not able to start the meeting at 8 o'clock as we agreed to. So with that, Emta, and I will leave all of you in peace. You all have a great day and enjoy the graduation. I hope you're counting down, huh? It's March now and next month is April, so the big countdown. Put a calendar on the top of your bed and cross every day out. The final countdown to end of year 4 and graduation. Yeah. So enjoy the graduation and enjoy the rest of the week. And make sure you visit our forum and share whatever comments or questions you have. Okay, so bye for now. See you all next week, Monday.